I think I got this one on the button. Islam Makachev, man, submission in the fourth round against the Brazilian grappling ace in Thiago Moises. I was off by 1 round. I thought he'd get it done in the third round. I didn't think they would even go to the championship rounds. However, this was very much like the other prediction I made. This was Thiago Moises versus Beneil Dariush all over again, man. When you got those pressure fighters who are just keeping on top of you, doing all of that craziness, throwing the ground and pound, dropping elbows, trying to search for the submission. I don't know, man. My biggest takeaway from the jump, and I'm going to let you get in on this, Thiago Moises looked like he could have been a big bantamweight or a very small featherweight versus Makachev. They did not look like they were in the same weight class. It looks like sometimes when you play the UFC video game, when I be on there, right? I'll be playing and you play the online matchup, and like for an example, they'll have some fighters who are in multiple weight classes. So like Cynthia Calvillo, I don't remember off the top of my head what her weight class is, if she's 25 or 35, but they would have her in, like, if you go to the lower weight class and she's still in it, she's like towering over the rest of the little characters. And this is my analogy, my metaphor for saying that's what I witnessed when I'm watching Makhachev versus Moises. He just looked like Moises looked like he didn't belong in there with Makhachev, and this dude looks like a world beater, man. This dude looks like the hype has delivered. He got the finish. He needed the finish, man. Super duper impressive to submit a dude and become the first fighter in Moises' career. Moises is 15-4 or 15-5 now in his MMA career. Makachev is the first fighter to submit Thiago Moises. So impressive, AJ. Give me your take on how this fight went down.
Yeah, it was an impressive fight. Makachev played his game. Moises started off pretty strong. I was a little off put by that. He came out, started off really strong, but then wilted throughout the rest of the fight. Makachev stayed calm, played his game, and literally it was game plan from the jump. Makachev was able to cut off the ring, stayed calm. What impressed me most about the entire fight is Makachev's kicks. Very impressive, very, very hard, very tall. He was coming back, head kicks, body kicks, literally maintaining distance with those. And then anytime he would go in for the takedown, easy takedowns all day. A lot of people were calling it a mauling. He was, that Moises got mauled by Makachev. But I didn't really call it a mauling. As far as the first couple rounds went, it was not pretty back and forth, but at least entertaining enough to consider it something different than an absolute domination mauling that we used to see from Khabib. Now, the big thing about me when I'm watching these fights, I can see how Makhachev's talent is there, but he's not really a big draw, at least anyway, from what I'm seeing. Like, he's not very exciting to watch, if that makes sense. Like, he's not really he's calling out RDA and he's calling out Michael Chandler and stuff. But as far as the media attention, he stays kind of boring. Even in his fights when he's like getting the advice from Khabib, he's just like, yeah, cool, bro. All right, I'll do that. And real calm, real cool, collected, which is what you want to see in a fighter, until we want to see that passion and that excitement, that Mateus Gamrot picture of him screaming after a dub. We didn't really get that from Makachev. He just stays calm, chill, and everybody to Makachev is a non-issue. Which, if you want a little bit of attention and you want a media draw, you want them to be issues so there's something to fight for. Whereas Makachev, he's dominating so many people and kind of just putting it to them that it's a little boring. It's almost asinine to say that a fighter who's putting it to people and dominating them through, first 3 rounds and then finishing them in the fourth is boring. But he stays so calm and it looks so easy to him that it doesn't even look like anybody belongs. So he stays a little boring. It's weird to see. It's a kind of crazy thing. And Khabib was also falling to this, he was falling victim to this exact same sort of thing because he was so dominant in one sort of fashion that nobody really cared until he got to fight Conor. And he only made his name off of Conor. But before that, nobody really heard of Khabib. So same thing with Makachev. I think he needs to find that big name that's going to make him draw out a little bit of emotion, draw out a little bit of back and forth so we can see something different than, yeah, he's nobody, I smash him, because that's the same line that Makachev says for everybody. So, but for the fight anyway, very impressive. I mean, you can't really take much away from him when he's just literally being the bully the entire fight, controlling the entire pressure, literally imposing his will. Even when Moises wants to do anything, he'll match it back. He'll kick you back. It was an impressive win. Can't take much away from him besides, like I was saying, with that little bit of media influence, I guess is the best way you can put it. What do you think, Derek?
Well, listen, it sounds like you saying this man needs to learn how to cut a promo, because even with Khabib was sitting there being like, your jiu-jitsu is 0, your striking 0, you know what I mean? I will destroy you, I will smash, like you need a little bit of that, and you do need that fiery passion. We already talked about it earlier this show, man. This is a business. You can't just smash people. You got to be entertaining, and I will agree with you, because when I was watching it, I was just like, standard Makachev performance. You know, he's just putting it on his opponent, and there's nothing that they can do. This is very similar to the Drew Dober fight. The Drew Dober fight wasn't very exciting, but the dominance was exciting from the hardcores, the people who are like, God damn, you know how good this dude is, and you see how he's just making it look easy. That's the part that's exciting. However, one part of Makhachev's game that I think would be valuable. However, it's very risky because he had the most to lose clearly in this fight. You know what I mean? This was like a win-win for Moises. Now he lost and got smashed, and I mean, not really win-win anymore. But when Makhachev had Moises back against the cage, and he was just standing in front of him, just kind of stalking him, not letting his hands go. And they even mentioned it in the broadcast. They were like, yo, this man needs to just let the hands go, take the risk. But why can't he take the risk? Because he even said it himself. He was all like, listen, man, I think that I could have finished Moises on the feet personally, but, you know, my coaches, they kept just saying, you know, take him down, father's plan, yada, yada, yada. So he's like, I don't know why, but I have to listen to these guys. And it sounded like it was a joke. I like Makachev because he has like that dry humor, and I'm a big fan of dry humor, you know, that sarcasm that just like, it don't sound like you're making a joke, but it really is a joke. And he says it himself. He was like, I need to get better with my English, but I make a lot of jokes when I'm speaking in Russian and all of that good stuff, man. So I think that the potential is there. But the man, yeah, he sounds like he's just like off a sleeping pill, or he's just lit all the time. You know, everything is slow motion. Even when they're trying to interview him, man, he makes no eye contact with like the female reporters or anything like that. He's just looking down, just being like, you know, yeah, you know, like that whispering tone, you know. But he's a killer, and he will maul anybody. And I agree, this wasn't a mauling. This was a domination. Not quite a mauling. Khabib versus like Michael Johnson. Like, that's the mauling. He needs to start talking to his opponents. Maybe. How about that, right? Being like, I deserve the belt. You know this. You know, smashing him Khabib style. I don't know. It's hard. Here's the thing, too. You know, every time that he fights, he's going to be compared to Khabib. And that's like the worst comparison because that's the pinnacle. So when you're being compared and every opponent you're smashing, it's hard to just up that performance every single time. Kind of like Conor McGregor, man. You know, we're so used to the flashiness. We're so used to the craziness, the knockouts. When he does it now, you're just like, this ain't the old Conor. You know what I mean? But different story for a different boat, man. Islam Makhachev, second finish in a row, 17th finish of his career. He's finished 17 of his 19 career fights, which is just so impressive, dude. And majority of his fights not the majority, but a lot of his fights have been in the UFC. So that's just super duper impressive, man. Tough one for Thiago Moises. He rose to the occasion in terms of not being scared. But just the same thing that they said about Moises when he fought Dariush, they said he wasn't ready. This is kind of the same situation, man. I just don't think he was quite ready for that. I will say Makachev, you mentioned it already, called out a mixture of Michael Chandler and RDA. Don't really know how that one works. And then he ended up calling like somebody else out after that. But they were just kind of forcing him. They were like, dude, you have to call somebody out. Yeah. But with that being said, man, great night of fights. Great main card. Literally 5 finishes all across the board. 80% finish rate on this entire card, man. Very impressive.